In episode number 349 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Tom King ending his Batman run early at DC.
We also have the casting of Robert Pattinson for Matt Reeves' Batman film.
And our comic book highlight this week is Batman TMNT III, number 1.
All of this and so much more on today's episode.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am your Emperor pal, Kelli.
And I am junior trainer Daniel, running away from pedo perv James Gunn.
Is that what you're doing?
That's what I'm doing. That's what all the junior trainers are doing.
You're sending out your super Rattata, which is the most best Rattata ever in the whole world.
Top Rattata. Top cut.
Top Rattata. So for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. The way we format it is we're going to start out with news covering all of those topics I just mentioned. We have our comic book highlighter, Patreon shoutouts, and we follow up with our Broket block, which is what happened with Daniel and I this week.
Kicking things off with the world of comics. It's a magical place where you can really make sequels to things that normally would never have it, crossovers.
Things people don't care about anymore.
Including 2004's cult hit film Napoleon Dynamite, and now it is getting a sequel in the form of an IDW comic book miniseries, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
The 4-issue Napoleon Dynamite picks up right after the events of the film where, and this is a quote, guys, this isn't me pulling things out of my ass, this is a legitimate quote. Quote, Pedro's reign as student body president is threatened when he's accused of having cheated in the election, pushing Napoleon and Deb to have to uncover the truth to clear Pedro's name before it's too late, end quote.
Is that how the last one ended in the movie?
I thought he got elected, right?
So he does win.
I don't know. I thought so. I don't remember. I saw it once because it was huge. It finished, and then I'll tell my Napoleon Dynamite story. That's fine. Just finish.
So writer Alejandro Verdugo said in a statement, quote, "It's an honor to have the chance to expand on the lives of Napoleon, Deb, and Pedro, characters that continue to resonate to this day. I still see people wearing Vote for Pedro t-shirts," end quote.
You know why people are wearing those t-shirts?
Ironically?
Because they bought them in high school, and we don't throw anything away. We're all hoarders, and everything's dirty, so let's wear those t-shirts.
It is set to release September of this year. I've had one sub already tell me that they wanted it on their pulls.
Really?
I think it's just going to be a small thing. I don't expect it to be massive at all.
No, I remember when this movie came out, right? Because everybody saw it and everybody was going around like, oh gosh, or whatever the quotes were, right? And so I watched it once and everyone's like, wasn't that so great? I was like, this was a really stupid movie. Like, why do you all like this? Because this is terrible. But we're living in the age of nostalgia, right? That's what everybody wants, is something nostalgic. So I get it. I'm not signed on. I have no desire to continue. Because, the point was they were all stupid, right? Like, maybe show me what's his name in Latifah. I would like to see their story continue.
You remember way more about this than I do. I'm on the same boat as you, where I watched it as well, did not like it, wasn't for me, and never wanted to see it again.
You don't remember Latifah?
No,
so
I don't.
Napoleon's brother, skinny weirdo white guy, was talking with this girl on the internet, and they were pretty much like, you're being catfished, right? Before catfishing was a thing. Went to meet her, and she's this super hot black woman who's really in love with him and is like kissing on him and everything, and he just thinks he's the coolest shit, even though he's this weird skinny white guy. I would see their story. But like Deb and Napoleon, nobody cared.
Who's Deb?
Deb was the girl who did the headshots for him and helped. I don't know. It was a really stupid movie.
Well, if you did like that and you want to continue the nostalgia, get ready for September.
Get it on your sub because your comic shop's not ordering this shit in. Tell them you want it.
On the sadder side of news this week, on Saturday, May 18th, comic book colorist Justin Ponsor passed away after a battle with cancer, which was first made public in 2017. We've reviewed a couple of comics where Justin Ponsor's book, his name is on there, and it is something that we had a lot of work that we noticed in a lot of his covers.
We do have a quote here from his family on Facebook, which reads, quote, "After a long and well-documented battle with cancer, Justin passed away in his home early on the morning of May 18th, surrounded by loved ones. It has been a time of mourning, reminiscing, and above all else, celebration. Because, come on, this guy," end quote.
Justin was recruited back in 1995 after a chance meeting with then Wildstorm president John Nee as he was stocking shelves at Toys R Us.
That's
Changed
amazing.
his life forever.
Yeah, absolutely. This week, Avengers number 19 will be one of Justin's last published works as he continued to work famously while being in his hospital bed.
Yeah, there were images of him that he was putting up and drawing coloring digitally on his pad and everything.
I mean, it's what he loved, right? So why are you going to give that up just because of the situation?
I think that the line of comics that we own the most of that he worked on is Ultimate Spider-Man, as he did the colors on Sarah Pacelli's artwork. And he's actually from Clearwater, Florida.
Very close. This is terrible, right? Anytime we talk about the loss of anybody, artist or not, right? It's a terrible situation, but for him, one, to have continued to work up until almost his last days, and two, to know that he was just surrounded by his family at his house. Really, what better situation can you hope for when that's the inevitable?
It is a neat thing, though, to have comic books as a way to preserve your work and your history in a way. And it's everlasting. It's something that people will always go back and enjoy his work, his art. And regardless of what the story is or the pencils or lines, the colors really bring out so much of the it changes the tone completely. It's very
life.
important. Yeah.
It gives it a lot of life.
That's why they started crediting colorists on covers now, which is great. So it is, man, that's going to be missed. We saw a lot of tweets from the comic industry, and obviously his work resonated with a lot of people.
Continuing with some comic news, through the Diamond Retailer Summit in Las Vegas this week, DC Comics unveiled their 2 Batman Day 2019 free comic offerings this year.
So those are going to be Batman Nightcrawler #1, which is the first chapter of the comic book adapted from a novel by Marie Lu, and Dark Knight's The Batman Who Laughs #1. That's the one-shot that gave you the origin of the Batman Who Laughs.
Did they not sell enough? Did they have a bunch in a warehouse and they're like, here, just give this one away?
Well, these are reprintings.
Oh.
So they're going to have Batman Day on the covers.
That's such a spooky book. Why would you give that one away? So spooky.
Yeah, I don't know if Batman Nightcrawler is all ages, really. So I don't think either one of these are going to be for kids. So I'll probably just dig up some free comic book day stuff and give it away on that day. Batman Day is not really as big as it was the first time they did it. And maybe I'll try to actually build it up some this year. I know last year we really didn't, so maybe we'll make a bigger thing of this, especially being that it's 80 years of Batman.
Right, of course. Retailers get an additional 10% discount on the following trades as well. So you're looking at Batman the Killing Joke, Batman Volume 1, The Court of Owls, Batman White Knight Detective Comics 80 Years of Batman, and Joker.
Not a massive discount, but these are forever selling trades. These are ones that you're like, okay, if I have 3 extras of, I'm not at all worried about it because I'm eventually going to reorder it anyway.
Like exactly like you said, these are all key pieces, right? So if you're missing, I mean, I know a few of these on here are books that you go back to over and over and over again. So this would be a great opportunity for people. So it says retailers get 10%.
Right.
Are you then giving a 10% discount?
That's up to the retailers.
Okay.
So if they wanted to do like a store-wide 10% extra off on these, then they can pass on the discount. Otherwise, it's an incentive for them to just order extras and have them available on Batman Day.
Of course.
And that way your profit margin is a little bit higher.
You should do something big for Batman Day, like a selfie board or something.
What's a selfie board?
So I say selfie board. You could do different props or different things, which is an incentive for somebody to come in and take a selfie with X, Y, and Z, right? Which promotes both your store and whatever event is going on. So you see people do it a lot of times. Like a big one is where they'll make it look like an Instagram.
Like a frame?
Yeah. They'll make like a frame, like a Twitter frame or an Instagram frame, and it'll say something. So a great example is baby showers, right? Da-da-da-da, baby shower this day or whatever. And then you hold it up and somebody takes a picture, but you got the frame in it.
Not as easy to do, especially since we can't really get the cardboard cutouts of Batman. So, I don't know. I'll have to think of something, but I've still got time.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. You need to just, my marketing brain is working. I'm like, nee. We'll figure something out. It'll be awesome. But you can celebrate Batman Day from your own house.
And Batman Day is every day anyway.
All the days.
Superhero of all time.
It is for Superman anyway. Every day is Batman Day.
My favorite villain of all time is Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul.
And his co-creator Neil Adams is going to be releasing a 6-issue mini-series titled Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul.
The solicitation reads, quote, Ra's al Ghul volunteers his own private security force to aid the GCPD, and now they are the saviors standing between nuclear terror and the townspeople. But Al Ghul's true goal is hidden from everyone's eyes, end quote.
What's his true goal?
Batman.
Oh, to kill him, I guess? Or?
No, to like be in love with him.
The series is going to be written and drawn by Neil. It's going to be released on August 21st alongside with a facsimile edition of Batman number 232, which is the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul.
Speaking of Ra's al Ghul, I served someone named Raoul today. And I was like, Raoul al Ghul, I see you. Sneaking up in my shop.
I'm glad that DC is getting in on the facsimile game because Marvel's been doing it for about half a year now. Are you familiar with those?
Not entirely, so please explain them.
So they are reprintings of the original key issues. The difference between these and the True Believers, which are the $1 reprintings, is those will have the True Believer banner on it. They're going to have modern ads. They're going to advertise the trade paperback that you can then buy if you want to read the rest of the story. The facsimiles are exact recreations, reprintings of the older issues, incling all of the old ads and everything.
That's awesome.
And they're usually $3.99 though. So that's the one thing that isn't reprinted is the price.
Have you ever taken one of those old ads and like sent it in and tried to get whatever they were offering?
I've been tempted. Yeah, or even calling the phone numbers and seeing where it led.
I'm always curious about that because the nanny did it once and then it worked out well for her. Do you remember that episode?
I didn't see that one.
She sent it in, or the kid she was watching sent it in to win a date night with Eric Estrada or something. And then he actually showed up on the night of her prom. Or her high school reunion, that's what it was.
I did see that one.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, let's go together. And she's like, this is great. And then he like ditched right away. He's like, no, we just thought this would be fun.
The only reason I remember, I'm like, that's that fucking guy that George Lopez said is an asshole. Like early on in his career, yeah. He treated him like shit and George never forgot. So as he got older, like he's been...
Burning bridges, guys.
Right.
Don't burn bridges. Don't ever do it.
Even though Neil isn't... I think his best days are absolutely behind him, and he's not the greatest at writing. He doesn't.
You just wait until next year.
Where my writing gets even worse. He needs Denny O'Neil on board. That's who we should have gotten. Denny and Neil both writing this, just like the old Man-Bat or the old Ra's al Ghul team. And then you can do a Batman versus Ra's al Ghul. Because it is my favorite villain, I am going to be subscribing to the series, but I don't expect good things out of it. I really don't.
What do you think the story is going to be? I already know, but you can tell me what you think it's going to be.
Obviously, him aiding the GCPD is just him infiltrating the city once again from the inside with his League of Assassins. So that's really what it's going to end up being. He wants to destroy Gotham and
and trying to get Batman a Batman sperm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I hope Talia's in this.
I hope not. Throw it out the window. I'm going to say, be reasonable, Neil. Don't put Talia in this.
I am going to be buying Batman 232, even though we have the original, but the facsimiles are really neat. And I've gotten one or two from Marvel's, and with DC doing these, I'm like, hell yeah, do like the first Poison Ivy, do the first Ra's al Ghul, do some classic ones.
Do like the first Batman. Yeah,
like an original reprinting of that. I know they've done it before in through the trades and the hardcovers, but if they were to do it as a facsimile, absolutely. Detective 27 would be a good one.
So while we have Neil coming on to this new book, we do have someone stepping away a little bit earlier than we expected. Bleeding Cool has been informed by several sources that Tom King has been taken off of his Batman title, ending with issue number 85.
Tom had previously said, even as recently as MegaCon, quote, "We're going to do the last 15 issues, and what we do there is something no one's ever seen for the character," end quote. So that's the bizarre part about it, because now we're not going to get whatever that idea was, since it is ending on 85.
While Batman is obviously still a powerhouse for DC, it should just be called Batman Comics, but I mean,
that's right.
I digress.
It pretty much is.
I mean, might as well be. Sales during the Nightmares arc dipped and allowed Marvel's Immortal Hulk to pass it.
That might have been why. I even heard from readers that were like, when are we going to get back to seeing Thomas Wayne fighting Batman, or what the plan is? And instead we went on for many issues on these Nightmare comics, which I enjoyed. But readers were like, you're dragging it.
I mean, they lost me. After the not wedding, I was gone.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
Right.
Well, we're probably not even going to get the wedding either that he was going to actually do for issue 100. So that got taken away from you.
How dare that? Maybe it'll still happen. Hopefully. Maybe that'll also be a nightmare. Whatever. Continue for a bunch more issues.
Well, Mitch Garrett, who's the artist to Tom King's Mr. Miracle series, he tweeted the following, which was, quote, "I know things about a thing, and it all means even better things," end quote, along with a gif of Batman smiling.
Was he high? Was he not talking about comics at all?
He might just be sticking up for Tom, as in like, guys, relax, it's not a bad thing. He's being moved for a reason that will be unveiled at a later time.
Do we think that this tweet was about the situation?
I think so, because it has the Batman gif.
Yeah, but like, I would just use the Batman gif for everything.
Well, and he's also Tom King's buddy.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I'll believe you.
Well, in case that's not enough, writer Ryan Higgins also tweeted, quote, "Heard from DC directly, Tom King's Batman run is ending at towards the end of the year, short of his long talked about 100 issue run. He has more projects coming up from DC, which will be announced in the coming months," end quote.
I mean, obviously they're going to keep him on, right? They're just going to give him something else.
Do you view this all as a negative in general for Tom King? Do you think it has to do with the sales?
That may be part of it. Like, if sales were still outstanding, absolutely they're going to keep him on. But in situations like this, I kind of feel like with any comic run, you're going to have some backup, right? You're going to have somebody ready to go when things need to be, when things need to make a change. And at the end of the day, you're going to want to make those changes sooner rather than later. You're not going to want to sit, and now you've lost most of your readership. So if the numbers dipped enough, obviously they're still giving him other work. Obviously they're not cutting him loose, and it's just in all how you spin it, right? Hey, the direction that you're going, fans aren't responding to this, but we think that you would be very successful over here, or you'll have more power to do what you want over here. And then they can just shift him that way.
Someone pointed out that removing him from Batman short of his full run might not be a good move, where you want to keep someone who made a character like Mr. Miracle, an Eisner Award-winning, amazing selling series. You want to keep him happy, and removing him from this might not have been the right move.
But you don't know what he was saying behind the scenes, too.
That's true, and to me, from the information that we have now, it's like keep him on for the extra 15 issues and finish it off till 105 or whatever his contract was, but we don't have enough, and obviously he's got more coming with other projects. We're going to get the sequel to Mr. Miracle, so that one we know for sure is releasing.
Well, when you think of 15 issues, too, you're talking about another year, a year and some change.
Comes out twice a month.
Oh, I lied.
Hopefully all good things for Tom, though.
Right. Hopefully Catwoman and Batman get married. That's all I want.
Rounding out this week's news on the movie side, according to Variety, Robert Pattinson is in final talks to play Batman in Matt Reeves' The Batman film.
At the age of 32, Pattinson will be the youngest actor to ever play Batman on film, if this news is accurate.
Filming is set to begin this summer for a June 21st, 2021 release date. So if this does go through, it continues to confirm the younger Batman that they're going for, or the flashback movie that they're going to go with Gotham, and making it more of a detective story than we've gotten before.
When this news released, people blew up my Facebook. And by blew up, I mean 2 people contacted me about it. But it felt like blowing it up because I think for a lot of people, this is a very controversial casting because they only think of him as in his role in Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he's done more things since then, right? Can I tell you what they are? Absolutely not, because I haven't kept up with him. But much in the same way that we reacted negatively towards Heath Ledger, or we reacted negatively towards Ben Affleck, right? Like, it all worked out. So we've said it once, we'll say it 1,000 times. Wait and see what happens. Wait and see how it is.
Remain neutral. I remained neutral during the Batfleck casting, and then I'm remaining neutral about what we're now dubbing Battinson.
Battinson. What's wrong with the internet?
I did not get contacted by anyone. Like, no one's like, hey, Dan, did you see? Not like when Ben Affleck was. I think this is the least controversial out of like the Keaton, the Heath Ledger, the Affleck, and then this, Battinson. This is the least controversial of those castings.
No, I had lots of people. Like, but he was in Twilight. Like, 10 years ago.
And he's totally going to play the same exact... It's the exact same argument again when people are like, oh, we're going to get gay Joker. That's right. He's just going to be sucking dicks in Dark Knight. What are you talking about? We're going to get a sparkly Batman. Absolutely. They're going to make him sparkle. He's
going to come out and be like, I'm 400 years old.
I saw people replace the thing, I want to hear you say it. And then she says, Batman. Yeah. You're Batman.
That's amazing.
People have already done the Photoshops of putting him in a cowl and all kinds of fun stuff that we always do when this kind of stuff happens.
You know what I did see in addition to that, and I don't even remember who posted it. I was scrolling through my Facebook and I saw it. They're saying that Vanessa Hudgens is getting cast as Catwoman.
I saw that too. Do you think we are going to get Catwoman in this movie?
I would love it if we got Catwoman. I don't know that we will. I mean, if you're talking about a younger Batman, sure, throw that romance in there. Better not be Talia.
We already know that we're going to get at least several villains. I think they had mentioned before that there was going to be an Arkham-based scene at least, so that tells us that we're going to see several villains.
Having Catwoman in there, though, there's so much that you can do with that because they have such an interesting dynamic of they're attracted to each other, right? At some point, they care about each other, but she still does her villainy thing, and then that creates a problem for him of, well, I care about this person, what do I do about this situation? So there's a lot of learning and growth and everything that can happen for Batman with that situation. I think Vanessa Hudgens would be a fine casting for that too.
I saw most of my Twitter is DC Belugas, right? And
naturally
most of them were neutral to positive about the casting, which was interesting. And they're much bigger on film now than we are. So they were saying, yeah, he did an amazing job on this movie and this movie and this one last year. He's a great actor. He's a better actor than half of the cast in the MCU.
So he pulled a McConaughey.
Apparently. And I haven't seen anything aside from that first Twilight that we went to.
Well, I mean, he was in Harry Potter, too.
I liked him in Harry Potter, but that was many years ago. I haven't seen any of his recent work either, but they were on top of it. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's interesting. And then we started seeing these fake articles of like, DC fans launch petition to get rid of Robert Pattinson as Batman. And we're all like, we did?
But did we do that? That's too funny.
I think that's just the internet, right? It's not the DC fandom. It's just people like, oh, fuck that guy. And it's like, you guys, you're probably still going to see it anyway.
Of course.
Or you're not really DC fans. Or people that are going to be watching this stuff. The Snyder Cut movement is not going out there and signing this crap. We're like, no, we didn't sign any of that.
The thing you always have to consider and remember with casting too, and I think a lot of people forget it, is a lot of what the actor brings forth is based on the director too. And so again, in Twilight, was the director really a strong director? Probably not. But then you see like Hugh Jackman in The Fountain, right? With Darren Aronofsky. Fantastic. Like one of his best performances ever, right? Again, it goes back to who's the director? What are they pulling? What are they able to pull? And how much does the actor connect with the script?
Anything with Aronofsky, he elevates it all. So yeah, directors play a huge role in how the performance is carried out. We saw that with Zack Snyder in the DC Extended Universe. So we will see in 2 years, and probably we'll get a trailer at some point late next year too.
I do want to see if we can find clips of his most recent movies.
Yeah, I'd be interested in watching those.
See some of them.
I mentioned the Snyder Cut campaign. Well, per a GoFundMe campaign, there was a bit of a milestone that was reached. The Release the Snyder Cut movement has raised over $12,000 for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and to put up billboards and ads at San Diego Comic-Con. So the idea is half of everything they raise is going towards the suicide prevention, and then the other half is going towards the Release the Snyder Cut ads that are going up at San Diego Comic-Con. And throughout this whole time, we had talked about it on the Snyder Cut retrospective episode when Manu brought it up, but the whole time they've been very clear in saying, hey, Warner Brothers, AT&T, if you do announce the Snyder Cut before this campaign's over, 100% of this is going to go to suicide prevention, and we won't need the billboards.
Right.
If you don't plan on doing any Release the Snyder Cut, come out and at least tell us, because then once again, 100% of this is going to go over to this campaign. But as it is now, half of the campaign, it's really, they could have just done a campaign of just the billboards, because the price breakdown is already for just the billboards. But what they did is they doubled the goal. That way they can raise double so that half of it goes to suicide prevention. A lot of these people saying that, why don't you just donate all of it then to suicide? It's like the campaign is for the billboards, and then it's doubled for this as well.
Right.
So that's the part that gets missed, I think, or these people just want to shit on people raising money to help suicide fucking prevention.
Of course, but it's not enough.
And meanwhile, people are forgetting about the fucking pedal perv James Gunn billboards that were raised, and none of that shit went to any fucking kind of campaign. No one was saying shit then. Now people are saying it because it's the fucking DC universe.
Of course it is.
And before this, as they pointed out, they raised collectively with the t-shirts and everything that Snyder did, over $100,000 already for this foundation. It's like, why are you focusing on this particular campaign, which has already raised thousands of dollars as well, and then ignoring the 100,000 that were put there before?
Because I'm going to tell you why they don't want this released. Okay? It's a conspiracy, but I got it. Because if they release the Snyder Cut, right, and then they enjoy it, and it makes them feel funny in their pants, then that is further proof that their god Joey Whedon is an idiot and destroyed the movie purposefully, especially when they start going, this looks kind of like Endgame.
Zack Snyder has started liking a few posts on Vero comparing the two, where they say, hey, the Russos were copying your homework, and then he'll like it and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, he fucking knows at this point too.
But how horrible.
Good on everyone that is a part of the Snyder Cut movement for raising this to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and for the Release the Snyder Cut billboards that are going to go up at San Diego. All good things, all great things, and I don't see how you can, how you have the fucking audacity to say something negative about that.
Because they're hiding behind a computer screen, and people are just pissed off about everything.
So we'll end the news on a positive. With that, let's head into our Patreon shoutouts of the week.
This is a huge Patreon shout out week. We have 8 Patreons to send you our thanks, to let the Brokehead know what have been up with you recently. So our first one goes out to @insmouth_tide.
He tweeted in reference to the Absolute Carnage crossover comic books with, quote, "Here I avoided the War of the Realms event, and Marvel is going to drop 26 books on this one." Right.
Oof, that sounds painful.
Fucking Marvel and their fucking balls every fucking time any one of these goddamn events.
Let me drop my balls.
They are not retailer friendly. They're not consumer friendly. They're really pissing me off on all fronts at this point. It's fucking ridiculous. And the readers are very unhappy about the cancellation of the X-Men universe now. That they're getting rid of that, and whatever Hickman comes up with is probably what we're going to see on the big screen with Disney when they use the X-Men. So they are once again letting the movies dictate the comics as opposed to the comics dictating the movies.
Or just leaving them separate.
And as Innsmouth said last night on the Discord, I'm dropping more and more Marvel books every single month. Majority of his books are DC.
Good. I mean, yay for comics, but pick up mostly DC.
Well, DC and indie.
Ooh.
all those indie publishers and DC are way more retailer friendly than Marvel's the worst right now. They have very predatory practices, and it's hurting the industry.
Mm-hmm. Our next shout out goes out to Elizabeth, who is at EP Lifts.
Elizabeth tweeted out, quote, "People bring in their entire house as carry-on luggage. Shake my head. Me? I got a bottle of water and Batman. Who needs anything else? Thanks to Tom King for making it an awesome one again." End quote.
Sounds like Elizabeth was traveling. I hope you had safe travels. I kind of enjoy going on airplanes.
I like airports. The airplanes are okay, but I like airports.
You only like airports because you feel like you can sit at the airport bar and be cool.
Well, it just feels... I like the aesthetic of airports. Mm-hmm. I like the hustle and bustle about it. And my favorite is when you're waiting to be boarded and you can sit around, you can read, you can listen to podcasts, you can drink at the bar, you can grab a bite. It's just that area there where it's like everyone's calm, everyone's cool. That's what I enjoy.
No, not me. Because I always feel like I'm rushing. Like, oh, got to get on the plane. What time's my plane leaving? Got to get on my plane because I just want to get to where I'm going.
Ever since we did quite a bit of flying as a kid, and you always had to get there extremely early. Mm-hmm. So that always stuck with me, even now, where I'll end up getting there an hour early and I'm sitting there and waiting, but I'm okay with it again because I'm not rushing, I'm not late, and I can, have a drink or I can catch up on my podcasts and catch up with all of you on Twitter.
Our next shout out goes out to Joshua T, whose Twitter handle is at Drips1963.
Thank you so much, Joshua, for your Patreon backing. We really appreciate it.
It helps us take the show much farther than we could otherwise.
Next shout out goes out to Nick F, whose Twitter handles are at Jersey Whisperer and at Nick's Nerd News 1.
Nick entered a contest to win the 10-inch Bulbasaur Funko and tweeted, quote, "If I win, at reasons I'm broke and I can be twinsies," end quote.
Hell yeah, everyone needs a Bulbasaur Funko Pop. It is the greatest Pokemon of all time. All deserve it.
Did you tell him that he's not going to be able to win it because you purchased all of them?
I have purchased a lot, haven't I?
All three? You purchased them?
Best of luck, Nick. Next shout out goes out to Julian W on Twitter at Cage023. That's Cage with a K. And at Lazy Gaming Guys.
Julian tweeted that his first cartoon crushes were Sailor Venus and Optimus Prime.
Sexy, sexy Optimus Prime. Which one was Sailor Venus?
She was she was also called Sailor S, I think. So, I don't know. You remember watching the show? You remember some of it? Remember, before she becomes Sailor Moon, she's watching Sailor Venus on TV, and she was like the superstar and all this kind of stuff. Well, she turns out to be the real Sailor Venus, right? And then that's her.
So she eventually joins the rest of the Sailor Scouts?
Yes, she does. She's the fourth one in, I think, and she uses like hearts or some bullshit.
So she's stronger than Sailor Moon?
No.
How's that possible if she's already been working?
Because Sailor Moon is like Sailor Queen Eternity or something like that.
So she's OP.
Queen Serenity, yes.
All right.
Can I tell you? I'm going to tell you a funny Sailor Venus story, right? So my best friend growing up loved Sailor Moon. Would never let me use her hairbrush, ever. And I was like, that's weird. Like, she would give me another one, right? It's because in an episode of Sailor Moon, Sailor Venus used Sailor Moon's hairbrush. And then they thought that Sailor Venus was Sailor Moon. And so they went after Sailor Venus.
That's some weird logic there.
And she's like, I just thought your hair would get in my brush and someone would attack you instead of me. And I'm like, I think you just didn't want me to use your stuff. But,
yeah.
But whatever. Who was your first cartoon crush?
I'd really have to think back on it.
You don't have a cartoon crush?
I'm sure I do. I just don't remember what the first one was.
Oh, man. Mine was Vegeta.
Your very first one was Vegeta? You
100%.
So you saw Dragon Ball before Sailor Moon? Because it wasn't Tuxedo Man?
No.
You don't like Tuxedo Man?
No, he was a wimp.
He came in and interrupted things and then ran off.
He did. He threw a rose and then ran away. No, Vegeta was my first one. And then after that was Tai from Digimon. And then when I found out that Vegeta wasn't cool, then it was Trunks.
Gotcha.
But that's because Vegeta wasn't seen as cool, but now he's cool again. So he's my OTP. What is it?
Yeah, OTP.
My one true pair. Whatever.
Next shout out goes out to Antonio A. Thank you so much, Antonio, once again for your Patreon backing this month.
And our next shout out goes out to Christian, whose Twitter handle is at WhiteHispanic58.
On Instagram, he put up a picture of the DVD combo pack from Jackie Chan, Police Story 1 and 2, with, quote, "I really need to stock up on my Asian cinema," end quote. And that's the place you start with. Jackie Chan doing all his own fucking stunts. Unlike Brie Larson trying to make it seem like she did all her stunts on Captain Marvel. This is a true fucking actor that does his own fucking stunts. Also Tom Cruise.
I'm going down rabbit trail. Sorry, guys. Have you seen the video of Jackie Chan when all his old crew like comes back and surprises him?
No, no, you showed me, but I haven't seen it.
It's like the whateverth anniversary of him and all these guys, right? And he's standing there and they're showing him a video. He's at some big public event and they're showing him a video of all these guys talking about what it was like to work with Jackie Chan and how great he was and how much fun they all had together. And slowly they're all filtering in behind him and then they're done and he turns around and he like loses it because they were family for so long doing all these things together. And now they're all these old guys and obviously none are as successful as Jackie, but they still respect him so much. And he just like breaks down and I'm like crying too. I'm like, yes, Jackie Chan. You're friends.
I love Jackie. He's so fucking good. I'm excited for Rush Hour 4. Have you seen the compilation video where every time he got injured?
No.
Doing stunts, and it's the actual shot that they use a lot of times for the film.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of close
makes
calls
sense.
Too.
Like when they almost drown people in movies and they're like, that's the cut.
Last shout out this week goes out to Eric. On Twitter is at eAntonOfficial.
Eric tweeted, quote, "There is a difference between giving up on your dreams and growing out of them. It's just a matter of determining which it is that you are doing," end quote.
Some wisdom there from Eric. Be sure to follow him. He does put up a lot of WWE tweets, so if you're into wrestling, follow Eric at eAntonOfficial.
But that does wrap up our Patreon shout-outs for the week. Thank you to every single one who contributes, not only through Patreon, but also those of you who just listen to the show as well.
If you too would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. For just $1 a month, you contribute to the podcast. You get your shout out every month.
But of course, the best thing you can do is talk to us on Twitter, leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you're using, talk to us in our Discord lounge. People have been saying at Kelli, and then I pop up like, hey guys, and then like I disappear again and come back 2 months later and there's like a million more words, right? Because Daniel's very active on there and I am very not.
There's a link to our Discord lounge in today's episode.
But if you go in there, you're going to connect not just with us, but all of our Patreon or listeners too, right? Whoever chooses to be in there live while we're talking about all these different things. Right now, you can post pictures. There's like cool little Pokemon emojis. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah.
My little like avatar is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's really cool. And if you are a Patreon backer, you get your own custom Pokemon emoji in the Discord lounge. Let's head into our comic book highlight for this week.
As we said in the very beginning, our highlight this week is Batman TMNT III, #1. This is of 6.
It's written by James Tynion IV, with art by Freddie Williams II, and colors by Jeremy Colwell. And Batman TMNT III is the final portion of this trilogy that they are doing with this crossover.
Until it makes a lot of money and we add more.
I just want another crossover with the animated versions where we got the animated series and the Nickelodeon. But as we said in the interview, or as John Samariva said in the interview that we had a few months back, they're focusing on the current Nickelodeon Turtles, so they probably won't go back to revisit it. But if you do like this crossover, make sure to check out the animated series version, which is now out as a trade paperback. But this one starts off and continues the story in a different direction than what we've gotten in the past. In the first arc, I believe, it's where we got the Ooze merging with the different villains. So we got like the Joker was a snake type of mutant. And in this one, it's more about the universes being merged from the beginning. And that's where the book opens. You're kind of thrown for a loop where you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, what happened?
Gotham and New York are one. And Batman was raised by Splinter, who is an amalgam of Splinter and Alfred.
It was really cool. I I don't know if they had told us that this was what it was going to be in the solicitation, if I had forgotten about it, but it was interesting for me to read this, right? Because I went in with no knowledge. Like, what's it going to be? I don't know. And then slowly as you're reading it, you're uncovering that this is what it is. It's a mashup between the two. You know, Batman says it's the Smile Clan, right? Which is Joker and Harley and the Foot Clan, but Joker and Harley version. And he says, call the family. Well, the family's the Turtles, right? So you're expecting Robin to show up, but it's a turtle.
Yeah, each of the Turtles are the different Robins.
Right.
Like Leonardo is Tim Drake. Michelangelo's Damien for whatever reason.
Let him be Damien. He's so cool.
Raphael is Jason Todd, which makes sense. And Leonardo is Nightwing, which is another one that they nailed. And yeah, it is him running away from his parents after his parents passed away. And being raised by Splinter and then his brothers, who are, in this case, the different Robins.
I thought it was really interesting what they did with the villains, too, because you have Clayface, but he takes the form of a giant rhino. So they still kind of fit in. Like, you have Killer Croc as the other major villain.
Yeah.
Or one of them, right, that they're using. So they still fit into the world of the Turtles. There's still something that you could potentially see in the Turtles world, but of course they're Batman villains. So I thought they did a really good job of mixing the two of them together and making it interesting enough, and that I just wanted to keep going, keep unfolding the story and be like, ooh, tell me what else is different and new and merged and all those kind of things.
Batman does, of course, end up being the first to figure out that these worlds are wrong. He starts getting flashbacks of, wait a second, I saw this clown guy who's the Joker, but I didn't recognize him. And then Splinter's like, oh, my son, just forget about it. So
you're just troubled, my son.
Eventually, they'll have to split these universes. And the very final page reveal gives you the hint as to who may have been responsible for the merging of these two existences.
An 8-bit turtle?
No. Right out, you flip one more over, and then you get the two villains.
Yes. I got it. Yes. It was really interesting if you've liked these in the past, even if you haven't read them, right? And you just like Batman and the Turtles, I feel like you can pick up right with this too and not have needed what we got prior. Maybe as they continue, like it'd make more sense if you read the pieces before it, but I feel like this was pretty self-explanatory by itself.
And this isn't the only Batman TMNT content aside from the animated one that we just mentioned, but it is now available on the DC Universe app. The animated version of the first part of this crossover between IDW and DC Comics is now available on DC Universe, and you can buy it digitally. I saw the perfect tweet. Like, they put up a short video of the trailer, and someone's like, why aren't we talking about this? To a lot of people, it's the first time they've heard of this particular crossover.
Wow. It's such a good crossover, though. Like, every time that we've read this, and it's been several different iterations, right? Even the animated series version. But every single time we've read it, they've all been great. They've all been so much fun. The Turtles fit so well with this. And Batman just takes it like a champ. He's like, yeah, giant fucking turtles. Whatever.
Except for part 2, where they made Leonardo a chump. The weakest of the Turtles, and he has to take Bane serum. That's my least favorite one.
I blocked that from my memory. Thank you for reminding me.
As you mentioned, if you like the first 2, you got to finish off the trilogy with this.
But that does actually wrap up the bulk of our podcast this week. Shorter week, not a lot of news, right? And we had MegaCon this last week. So that's actually what we're going to cover in the Brocat blog. If you guys want to stick around, find out what we thought of the convention, what went on with us this week. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in.
So here we are on the Brocat block, which is what Kelly and I have been up to this week. I think we'll save MegaCon as the final bullet point. So, well, that kind of relates to it. So, let's go into MegaCon.
No, I mean, we can talk about this other thing.
Yeah, talk
first.
about your VP.
Oh, okay. So I just some fun things with work, right? I'm in my 3rd week of this new job. Like, content overload, right? I'm like shutting down mentally. I'm happy vacation is coming up because there's just so much going into my brain that I'm trying to process, and it's taking a lot. Anyway, we had the VP of the region come to one particular store today. So they're like, Kelly, you're going to show up at 6 a.m. and you're going to work at this store. And you're going to make it run great because this VP's coming in and it needs to look like it's not on fire. And I'm like, I got you, right? So I showed up, and granted there were several other managers, right? But this VP comes in, nicest guy ever, like walked behind the counter, shook everybody's hand, asked how everybody was doing. So he comes over and he shakes my hand. He's like, how long have you worked for us? And I said, 2 weeks, sir. Like, you know, and I'm just being real personable, right? Because I'm personable as shit. Like, just talking to him, and he looks at me. We've talked to him for like a minute or two, and he goes, do you have any aspirations to be a manager? Like, this man was going to promote me right now. And I was like, I'm already in training, but thank you.
On top of it.
On top. And he's
good
like,
to see you're
good.
doing your
He's
job,
like,
though, sir.
Good. Well, and he asked where I'd worked prior, and I told him. He goes, well, then maybe you can teach us some things. And I was like, also on it, sir. I didn't say that, but yeah, I mean, that was it. Like, this man was going to give me a promotion already. So, proud of myself.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. I know you went through a stressful shift last week, which is probably your worst shift so far at this new position, but you got to weigh those out. Like, you got to see where the stresses are going to hit, and then eventually you're going to settle into that.
And the thing that I have to always constantly keep in mind, right, is the position I'm going into is a very operational position. So it's making sure the location's running. It's holding people accountable. It's doing these things that I've done for the last 3.5, almost 4 years, right? Right now, I'm not in that position. Right now, I'm on the front lines. And those are always much more exhausting shifts for me because, one, I'm learning so many new things because it's a different company. While the job itself is similar, there's so many different things that I'm learning, different wordings for things. And like over here, I call it a deployment. Over here, I call it play calling, right? 2 different things, but it's the same thing. So I'm having to do all that. And then I'm working regular shifts, which is where I'm focused on this one task all day, not 40 different things where my mind can jump around and kind of ease from one thing into another. So those are always more stressful for me. So I know that this time is. And then right now, of course, my hours are changing constantly because where's the trainer? What shift do I need you to learn right now? Just because I need to learn it. Eventually it'll balance. Eventually I'll get through the training and they'll say, Kelly, here's your store, make it your own, work what you feel you need to, and then it balances. But I need to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy there's a vacation smack dab in the middle of my training because I need time to process.
That's cool. That'll be your second vacation this year? What's that like?
It's, I don't know. I just take my vacation time.
Gotcha.
You could find it. But the cool thing, right, is they already gave me vacation hours. So I'm not going to get paid for that vacation, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. You could take more vacation.
Mine's coming up in August.
Yeah. Well, you have one in June.
It's not really a vacation.
Why not?
Because if it's anything like last year's, I don't know. I never felt like I was relaxing.
Well, that's not good.
No. No, that's probably why I've been breaking down for a while.
That's also not good.
MegaCon, though.
Yeah.
My second favorite convention out of all the ones that I've attended, C2E2 being my favorite one, which is the reason not going this year, unfortunately, but going to Wizard World Chicago instead. But the experience with you and Leo this year, and us actually staying somewhat nearby the convention instead of driving out for both days, which we ended up attending Thursday and Friday. I got my 4 commissions knocked out, at least submitted on Thursday so that the artists can get to work on them because I knew that they probably weren't going to be done on time. And sure enough, 2 of them were not. So we did get the 4 artists that I ended up commissioning was David Nakayama, who came on the show and remembered me, and it was amazing and it was great. I ended up, he did on the Spider-Gwen blank a Gwen Stacy. Not Spider-Gwen, but actually classic Gwen Stacy on there. So he did a headshot of her in color. By Dave Alvarez, who works on the Looney Tunes comic books. And he did a Harley Quinn based on a design that he had done for a Harley Quinn crossover Gossamer book. So I showed him that panel because I had just put it out on Instagram. And he's like, was that you that posted that? And I'm like, yeah, I tagged you in that. And he's like, oh, perfect. And he did that one up in grayscale.
It's awesome.
So it's kind of like that Looney Tunes-ish style for it. I also got Ty Templeton, who I've been waiting for many years to meet in person, but he was very busy, not much of a talker, but we had him here at MegaCon. I had him do a Detective 27 recreation in Batman the Animated Series style, but Batman and the criminal, he's holding him by the neck and he's swinging by. It's flipped roles. Batman's being held by his neck and it's Man-Bat that's flying through. So one, it's the first appearance of Batman because it's Detective Comics 27, but that's also the first episode that released for Batman the Animated Series.
So it's perfect.
It worked out well, and he did that in color. And Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys really came through and picked up the pieces from David and Ty. So that was awesome for him to do. And he actually hand delivered them to the comic shop as well, which was really nice. The last commission I got is from Walter Osley, who's a local artist, but his Kickstarter campaign for Shiver Bureau, I think, hit over $4,000 previously, and now he did Metal Shark Bro for Scout Comics. I had him do a cheetah on a Wonder Woman blank cover. So that one he was the quickest out of all the artists. He had knocked it out. It looks great. And I will be sharing these eventually on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Tumblr.
While you were getting all that done, Leo and I were wandering the streets of MegaCon. We had a lot of fun. I let him run around as much as he wanted, right? And he was weaving between people and looking at stuff. And the first day he was dressed as little Batman, and people thought he was the cutest thing ever because he is.
Yeah, Batman cosplayers kept coming up to him and saying hi, and then he'd get really shy.
Yeah, he would. He didn't know what to think the first day. He was more open the second day. He was cute. He'd run up to every little kid that he saw and wave to them.
Yeah, that's right. He did do that. And also the R2, when the guy was controlling him. And
R2-D2.
he was kind of interacting with him. Like, Leo got the courage to, like, come up and touch the R2, and that's when the guy would change, make the noise, and then he'd go back and touch it again. And he was interacting with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so he had a lot of fun. Of course, I bought some merchandise, right? I have, I'm wearing it right now. My Capsule Corp jacket.
Finally.
I've been waiting years for this. Way overpriced. I didn't fucking care. I was like, just buy that shit.
You got that. I got a Frieza t-shirt from the same vendors. You got a Vegeta coffee mug, which was pointed out by Scott, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but fortunately.
Don't show Kelly. Don't tag Kelly.
So it's a coffee mug, but it's his pod, right? That he comes in to Earth. And you don't see anything, and then you pour something hot in it, and then Vegeta shows up.
Nice.
It's perfect. I haven't used it, but I will.
I like the band Presto booth that they had. They had this giant Godzilla on there, and I'm going to put up a picture of that on the premiere of the Godzilla film. But for King of the Monsters, they were having all kinds of models. There was the Dragon Ball Z ones, the model kits, and I saw the Netflix adaptation, Godzilla. I don't know if it's a model kit or a statue or whatever. I think you might build it together, but it's the first bit of merch that I've seen here in the U.S. that is based on that Netflix trilogy, which are my 3 favorite Godzilla films of all time. So I was like, finally, there's some fucking merch, but it was $100 fucking. But it had the same ship that, like, Haruo's parents were, or Haruo's grandpa was destroyed in. I'm like, I can recreate that depressing scene.
They also had at that same booth Vegeta in his pod.
Yeah.
And that one was really cool. That was like $58, and I should have just bought it, but whatever.
I looked that up on the comic shop, as well as the Netflix Godzilla model, neither of which are available to us. But of course, the Vegeta mug is still in stock and available. I'm like, of course, the one thing we paid full price for, more than full price for, is the one that I can order.
Well, I had to have the Vegeta mug, so whatever. Leo got a baby shark. They had a little baby shark stuffed animal that sings, and he saw it and got so excited. So I bought it for him, and now he just throws it on the floor. So I was like, okay.
He doesn't press the button anymore?
He does it, and then he'll like move his hands in the baby shark, and then I hand it to him, and he throws it on the floor. I'm like, okay.
Maybe it freaks him out.
Just throw baby shark, whatever.
I also ended up buying one of Pat Gleason's exclusive Detective Comics 1000 covers, which is when all the Robins are looking up at... This is when Damien was dead, but this is when Jason Todd, Dick Grayson, Barbara, all of them dress up as Robin, and they help out Batman. So he redid that cover, but with the Bat family, so you actually see Batman and Damien, and it's all complete. But Peter J. Tomasi was selling it at his booth, and Scott and I walked right up to the booth. Obviously, he had lines or other artists and writers next to him had long-ass lines, but you can walk right up to fucking Peter J., talk to him for a minute, and he's like, yeah, I get kind of lost in the shuffle here, I guess. And I'm like, man, you're on Detective Comics now, and you're doing great with Arkham Knight, and I'm just, fanning out and talking to him about how I work at a comic store. I'm like, anytime fucking someone asks me about what comics, get anything Peter J. Tomasi, and he, like, lit up. He was like, thank you so much for personally, like, upselling my work. And I'm like, dude, what I will read everything you do. Like Super Sons is amazing. Batman and Robin from the New 52 is great. Detective Comics, you need to stay with DC. Like, we already lost Pat Gleason. He's signed an exclusive with Marvel. They need to keep Peter J. Tomasi because he's, I think, my favorite working writer right now.
So that's what we did while we were there. You also went to a panel. Don't forget that.
I did. I went to the Greg Capullo panel for MegaCon. Scott and I did, and I recorded the whole thing, which we are going to release next month during a week where Kelli and I can't record. So that will be coming up on the podcast, and you should expect it. I've probably spent like 3 hours editing the thing because obviously I don't have my phone next to the microphone, and at some points Greg's like leans away from the mic and other people are clapping, so I now have to bring down the volume, and it took me a while, but I got it to where it's like it's listenable. And I'm excited to release that because it feels like a little bit of the con, and there's a lot of comic book talk there, but a little bit of the convention will go towards all the broquettes as well. And I want to try to do that more often. If I go to a convention or an interview, what do we call it again? A spotlight panel, a panel for anyone in the future for any conventions. I want to make sure to record them to at least share some of them with you guys.
So that does wrap up what we did during this convention. Overall, how did you feel that this convention was compared to others? So as far as the layout, the hall that they used, I know we had some complaints in the past about halls that were too small given the crowds, etc.
I'm sure that's still a problem on Saturdays, but Thursday and Friday, for the most part, I could move around just fine. I didn't have an issue with a lot of cosplayers clogging up the aisles. There was the rice ball booth, which was awesome.
I felt like they had a lot more food options this year.
And a variety of stuff, too. Right. Like, they had the soda pop stand. They had the rice balls. Yeah.
They had a fudge counter.
Yeah, they did. Like, it was a good variety of stuff, not just 15 booths of fidget spinners or 18 booths of Funko Pops. It was, like, there was something different in each aisle. And, I think it was a little bit of a smaller hall, but the panels were actually huge. So I did not know until like the second day that there's a north and then the south concourse, and there's panels on both of those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you know how we went to the quiet room? That whole section, there's another one of it on the other side.
Wow.
Because Scott and I were trying to go to the Greg Capullo panel, and we're like, shit, we're in the whole wrong wing. So we had to go to the other, cut through the convention again and go to the other side, and it's the same shit, like a ton of fucking panels, gaming rooms for gamers that want to play video games at the convention, D&D rooms, the family playroom, which is like the Lego section, and all kinds of great stuff. So I was really impressed by the panel layouts, and I wish I could have gone to way more panels instead of just the one. But it's not as easy with 1.5-year-old.
It's not. I feel like it wasn't really advertised as well what panels were available to.
You had to get the app.
Right. And they're really pushing the app, and I'm sure it's easier, but I didn't feel like downloading it. But it did feel like, so for example, you mentioned the quiet room, right? Last year there were signs in the bathroom that said quiet room or family care room in these halls, right? In these particular rooms. They didn't have that this year. So it took us probably 20 minutes to find this room because we're asking and somebody sends us someplace and somebody sends us another place until we could actually get there. It was still a great resource, right? Leo took a nap for an hour during the convention because it was nap time and there's nobody in the room, and so it could be quiet until these punk ass kids came in and filled up their water bottle. But I've let it go. I've moved on. So yes, as far as those things, right, it was nice that they had this space, but I wish it would have been easier to locate those things.
There were also some great exclusives in the DC Comics booth that they had. They had some MegaCon ones, but they were a lot pricier. But at the DC booth, they were like $15, $25. And they were essentially foil versions of variants that came out that month, basically. So there's some really cool ones there, and I try to get a few of those every time I go to these conventions, if DC is actually present. You got a picture of the Detective Comics 1000 cover.
Yeah.
With you dressed up as Harley.
I did.
On day 2, was it, or day 1?
Day 1. Yep, day 1, dressed up as Harley, and they were doing this really cool thing where you could choose from 4 different covers, and they would superimpose you in there and then email it to you for free. So we picked Detective Comics 1000, where I'm Harley and I'm punching Batman because Batman's got Joker in the headlock, and Leo was there dressed as Batman, like, I don't know why I'm here, Mom, but but he was in there too. So that was just a cool little fun thing that they had just for fans, right? Like I said, it was entirely free. This guy just stood there taking pictures all day, but it was a lot of fun.
As I said earlier, we ended up staying out there at the Rosen Hotel this year, which meant that the convention is within walking distance, which made it easier as far as like day and night and getting there and coming back, not having to drive and not having to pay double on parking because of it. So also the lobby was right downstairs for food options, which made it pretty convenient as well. And the Brocat meetup for Thursday night at Ale House. Huge thanks to Bobby, Scott, Russell for coming out to Ale House and really sharing our convention stories, our convention haul for the day, and getting some food and drinks.
I thought that staying out there was 100% worth the money, especially having little Leo. But if you guys ever have the opportunity, if you're going to a convention for several days and you can afford to stay at a hotel, I think it's a different experience. I found it a more relaxing experience than getting up early, loading everything in the car, getting dressed, right? Driving out there, taking a shuttle into the convention. It's just too much. And then when you get back in, you have that so far walk, right? So yes, this was more convenient. It was just right across the street. It was probably a 10-minute walk to get back to the hotel. So the first night we went upstairs, we're in our room. Leo loves hotels.
He does, yeah.
Loved it. Like he flopped out on the bed and took the remote because he can't play with a remote at home. It was just clicking buttons. And I'm like, whatever, kid. Like you break it, whatever. You're in a hotel. So he was just clicking buttons. And so I went to sit on the bed next to him and he pushed me off. He's like, this is my bed. So he had a really good time too. Even though it was busy, right? It was a lot of exciting things for a little boy. So he enjoyed it.
Unfortunately, there was that fallout of you and Leo picking up something while there, the con crud.
Some crazy ass virus was going around the con, and Leo caught it. So then by default, I caught it, and then my family caught it, who watches him on the weekends. So yeah, he came home and he was just, when was it? Friday night that it started? So. Saturday night. One of these nights, I don't know. And he just wouldn't stop throwing up. Just threw up everything. I think I was up until 5 a.m. with him because he wouldn't stop throwing up. I think today's the first day he hasn't thrown up in the last few. But he just caught some nasty virus, and poor little guy didn't know what was going on. And I felt so bad because it's the first time he's really been sick. So we took him to the doctor, and the doctor looked at him and said, well, he's a very healthy boy, but he's got this virus and it'll go away eventually, and you could catch it in the supermarket right now. So it's just out there.
That sucks. Yeah, and you said you ended up catching it as well.
I did. It wasn't quite as severe for me, but I also have to weigh that with I'm an adult and I know, okay, I need to empty my stomach and then not put anything on it and then only drink Sprite for 3 days so that I can get over this. And he's a little boy who says, I don't know what happened to me, but I'm hungry and I'm thirsty.
Yeah, and all he could have today, for example, I was like you told me, just give him the oyster crackers, give him a little bit of Sprite if he wants that, or water. He's going to ask for more, and he did. So it was very difficult and stressful to not giving him more food, because you don't want to risk him like eating it too much or too quickly and then throwing it all up, unfortunately.
Well, because that's what the doctor said. He said he's going to drink quickly, his stomach's going to cramp, and he's going to send it all back up. If you just do little bits at a time, then he'll be fine.
It,
Right.
So he is on the upswing, though, is what we're seeing because of the non-throw-up. We'll see how tomorrow goes and how his diaper changes hopefully improve.
Hopefully they improve soon.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and end the podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us on this episode with casting news of Pattinson. Once again, remaining neutral, and our MegaCon sort of retrospective as well on how the convention went. C2E2, I think, is still my favorite. There's heavier comic focus on C2E2, but MegaCon's comic guests are getting really good.
If you guys want to reach out to us, you can hit us up on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Palpakelli, spelled with an I. But let us know what you enjoyed if you went to MegaCon, right? Show us what you picked up. Let us know what you enjoyed from the convention, or if you attend any other convention, right? Let us know what you like to see most.
So thank you so much for joining us, for letting your friends know about the podcast. I am Junior Trainer Daniel.
And I am your Emperor Palpakelli.
And Brokehead Core.
All will be well.